Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Righteous Force, Brian's Logic, Neil, Refracted Curvature, Adam, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Let's get it on!
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. Welcome.
Ciao.
Neil said, I'm in the motherland, Neil. I'm in the motherland for you.
All right, don't get
I
your
knew it.
flashbacks. No one's going to arrest you, Adam. It's all good.
Once you said buongiorno, I knew where you were.
Right. So we are now functioning, hopefully fully functioning, on Beast 2.0. This is the new updated Flat Earth Debate computer, which will hopefully be nice and stable and cool for the next 2 to 3 years, maybe even longer. We shall see if this computer fails on its ass in this next couple of days testing. We will know. But we are back after a few days off with a computer tech guy coming back and forth into this house, flat as the case may be, to make this computer rock and roll so I can ask these following questions that are extremely important that you all share so that everybody can hear about physical geometric sphere edge horizons, formerly known as Earth curve. Any evidence thereof?
Negative.
No, but just to come to the housekeeping question, the past week or so, I think the nonsense that we've been dealing with really highlights how powerful these housekeeping questions are, and how they're more relevant than worrying about ether or upward moving Earth. They're the ones that take the ball apart. I know we can have fun guessing the nature of reality, but these housekeeping questions are the one that got us here, and they're the ones that will keep continuing to destroy the world, because as you'll see, they're unanswerable from a ball perspective. Rant over. But
any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Can I give an answer to the last question?
Yeah, go ahead if you want to.
There can't be evidence of our curve, because even if they got a measurement that fit their globe, they'd have to be breathing on that day to do that, which would not fit our globe and their model.
Right on.
So no matter what they come up with, they can't.
gas pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What is it? No Atmo Day?
It would have to be within their claims for them to get the measurement that fits their globe. So even if they did come up with it, that also debunks them, because they'll have to be breathing to do that.
True. But any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
I still haven't heard back from Neil deGrasse Tyson, so I would say no.
He's an astronomer as opposed to a navigator, though, isn't he? I mean, he's not going to know how people use a sextant to...
I don't care. It's a question he
irrelevant.
needs to answer.
Well, no, that's irrelevant, because they use a horizontal plane in orbital mechanics. Same problem that they have in celestial navigation as well.
When you say they use a flat plane in orbital mechanics, pray tell, if you're suggesting that Kepler, with his orbital mechanics, has actually got a flat Earth at its heart, I mean, that's pretty exciting stuff, John. I mean, that's news to me.
Well, they use a plane of reference with the apogee and perigee, all those things that, that
Let's start there.
Stop.
Stop. Apogee and perigee? I've heard of such things. What are you speaking of?
Well, it's angles from a point on a plane to a celestial object.
And what plane would that be?
Now, if you and that's if you imagine orbits and describe the nearest and distant positions you observe the celestial object, and then I say assume orbits, you can describe those two extremities as perigee and apogee of an orbit.
Off of a flat plane, yes.
Yeah, from a flat. Yeah, they're measured from a flat plane and assumed that the angles you've taken are commensurate with an orbit. And if you do that, you can describe those extremities as apogee and perigee.
And John, wouldn't all the other let's just say so-called planets also have to be everything they calculate would also have to be calculated from a flat plane at the center of them, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they call it a plane of reference in the mathematics.
Yeah. What about the sun? Would that have to have their sun? Would that have to have a flat plane for their measure?
Speaking of which, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Well, that's how they get their angle primarily to begin with before they introduce a radius value.
Hold on, angle to the sun's not going to give you distance. Angle's not actual size or not actual anything because it's not giving you a physical distance measurement. So if you're saying it's all about the angle, that's not giving me an answer to my question. 50 people watching, please share the show. Smash that share button. Shout out to Sensual Goat for smashing the super chat. Just one sec, John. We'll come back to you. It says, notorious anti-flat earther, Planner Walk, has recently come out as trans. Hopefully he will encourage others to have the courage to follow their destiny. Okay, I mean, not really on topic for us, but sure. Good luck to you, Planner Walk. You're a very brave man or woman or whatever you go by now.
I didn't bring it up.
Good morning, guys.
Don't care. Couldn't care less about his
Separate.
identifiers. No offence to you, Sensual Goat. It's not relevant to us. We're only interested in what he claims about the nature of Earth. He's a sphere believer, so that would be the only thing that we care about. I know others have got a thing about whether or not people overtly claim their sexuality in their pronouns. I don't care. Does anybody else on the panel care particularly?
Not within this subject, no. In other situations, yeah, but not within this subject.
Yeah, we've got no...
that from a year ago.
There's no real prejudice here. We don't care if you're black, white, Spanish, trans, lesbian, gay, straight. If you're talking crap about the globe, we'll point out how the crap you're talking is crap, regardless of what your sexuality is or your skin colour. We don't care. You know, just present evidence for your stupid nonsense that you're on a sphere and we'll be good. And if you present nonsense in lieu of a sphere Earth evidence, then you're going to have that taken apart. But your skin colour or your nationality or your sexuality is irrelevant to that. Literally, completely, totally irrelevant.
Even if you're a flat earther.
The proof of that is that Adam is on the panel.
Yes, we've got a black transgender lesbian on the panel right now, and nobody's got any issue with him whatsoever, have they?
Yeah, we thought. Yeah, exactly. And we accept that Anthony was also from Liverpool.
I'm a trans female lesbian who presents as male.
No need.
Yeah, especially when you're Irish. I mean, what sort of standard is that from an Irishman?
Get him, Irish.
Anyway, let's
I've
move
got to
on.
admit, I'm a little globe-phobic, though.
Globe-phobic?
I'm globe-phobic, yeah.
So you're contradicting yourself then.
Well, is heliocentrism a protected group? Because LGBTQ are a protected group, but globe belief isn't, as far as I'm aware.
Heliocentrism are the most protected group in the world.
Scientology, maybe, as a religion, because they're registered, but heliocentrism, how is that a protected group?
It's not. It's constantly being protected by movies.
That's not what I said. Protected group is a specific categorization for things like people at risk in small communities like LGBTQ. Well, they are categorized specifically as a protected group. Therefore, were you to attack them based on their LGBTQ nature, the punishments are more severe because of your attacking a protected group. Now, you're saying they are protected. Oh, no, yeah, I completely agree with that. You know, the anti-flat earth movement is propped up based on flat earth searches at the moment. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, unlike Scientology, which is a literal registered religion, heliocentrism, which is at the heart of Scientology, has none of that. What is it that makes it a officially protected group? I don't think it is. It's not classed as a religion. It can't be. If you're just saying, well, that's just how the world is, why would you? It would seem weak to register it as a protected group or a religion or something of that nature if you're trying to convey it as just the way it is. It wouldn't need it, and if you show that it does need it, well, why does it need it? Why do you need to protect this if it's just the way it is? So I don't believe it is, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I would say it's the most protected group in the world because they put
I agree. You're not picking up what I'm putting down. Yes, it is, in quotes, the most protected group, but in terminology, in terms of Western world culture and what we call a, quote, protected group, heliocentrists aren't a protected group. You're just not picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah, but if they called them, if they said that they were a protected group, then that takes away their validity.
Exactly.
That they don't have anyway.
Yes.
So they have to, do you know what I mean? So they can't say they're a protected group, but they have to constantly protect them.
Precisely.
I was going to say that.
Finally, yes.
I was just going
to
say they're the most protected group without mentioning out loud that they are.
Yeah.
I don't think we should have ventured into this topic because now, like, there's a ipso facto claim that protected groups aren't valid now.
No, there is not.
Move away from this.
Hold on. I don't mind getting onto that. I know it's off housekeeping, but how would anything that we just inferred suggest that a protected group doesn't warrant their protection? I don't get what you would infer that.
If heliocentrism claimed a protected group, they would be it would invalidate them, right?
Exactly.
So if you're a protected group, you're invalid.
No, I'm saying that you're subject to prejudice because you're an individual group that can be categorized as such, but you can't categorize what is considered to be reality as a group and then protect that group. There's no need, and it would weaken the position that it is just reality if you categorized it as a group that needed protection. That doesn't invalidate the protection that may or may not be required for any other individual group, in my humble opinion.
Well,
But
let me
understand. I'm just saying that we're dancing a dangerous line for no reason. It's a red herring at best.
Agreed.
Well,
Can I point out the irony though? Because I mean, this is normally not on topic for us, but it was brought up. So look how what's his name? Planet Walk came out and said, yeah, he's a woman. Okay, that's awesome. And he gets all these Globers to back him up and say, yeah, we cheer you on and you should be free to be who you are, and that's what's up. Okay, great. You should be free to be who you are. Okay. Here's a bunch of people who just don't think they live on a magical spinning water ball flying around in a vacuum. Get rid of them, burn them, don't reproduce, kill yourselves. I mean, you see how ridiculous that is?
Yeah, that's perfectly acceptable. We're not a protected group. You know, I can also shout across the street at gingers and laugh at them.
Neither are Italians.
Well,
we provide the protection.
Yeah, about that. I'll pay you later, Neil. It's in the till.
The point I would make is if we go back 3 years ago and we look at the past 3 years now without making any talk about the subject, there was a whole lot of protection going on for stuff that wasn't scientifically valid. Now, the globe, right, although it's not science, right, all these things that they try to protect in these groups, they try to protect constantly. In a lot of ways, they come back to, with the exception of a few, they come back to a heliocentric mindset. If you look at what is being protected, a lot of it comes back to a heliocentric mindset where nothing really matters, a nihilistic type mindset.
Yep.
Where, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. If everything's a soup of nothingness and you are an insignificant speck of dust whirling around in that ever-expanding soup of nothingness, then what does it matter? What significance does it have? You might as well just be a con artist and a cheat and a thief, because what does it all matter? Now, those were some of the things that I contemplated. Fortunately for me, I'd already faced my demons before I found Flat Earth, because suddenly you appreciate that there's only one real outcome to what we've discovered, which is to say that the ontological primitives, That's where you end up. And you go, okay, so there is some purpose to where we are and what we're doing, and there must have been an external force that created it all. That means that there are potential consequences to your actions. You can't just stuff those demons into the closet and never worry about them again. And upon finding out that there may be, in fact, a creator, you might have to, heaven forbid, face your own demons. And a lot of the people we oppose and oppose us don't want to do that. The skeletons in their closets are too scary for their own good. So they don't want to open the door to their own scary closet with their own scary skeletons in them. And they might have to face them if they suddenly contemplated the awful reality that they see Flat Earth to be, rather than suppressing us and telling us not to breed and drink bleach and jump off buildings to prove gravity.
Wait, are you saying that we are not like primordial fish, frog, swamp soup that got hit by lightning and got real sentient? Is that not what we are?
No.
Monkey, fish, frogs, what?
the primordial soup that we were all before lightning struck and gave us life, Arwen? You don't know about that?
I do. Almost 70 people watching. Please share the show. Massive thank you to all of you who's smashed the share button already. It's probably why we're creeping up to 70 people already. So please share the show if you haven't done so already. Also, shout out to Iron26. You've smashed the sharing of gift button. I don't know what that is, but he's done it and he's shared memberships with people. So thank you very much for doing so. Really appreciate it.
Nathan, if you're looking for a video to review, I can give you a Dave McKeegan video.
If you like. Do you want to post it in Master B?
It's up to you. I don't mind it. If you don't want to review it, I don't.
No, I don't mind. It's been a while. I don't like doing them one after the other, but fine. If you want to cover Dave McKeegan, if it's something specifically important.
Well, it's not so much I want it. It's just a video I posted recently I haven't even watched it. I posted recently in Master B. I was laughing at something.
Is it the one that's called "Why There Are No Flat Earth Surveyors"? Is that one, or is it another one? Because I saw that one pop up.
Well, that's right up your street, Brian. So I can lean on you a little bit.
Out.
That sounds good. If you can dig out the link, I'll ask another couple of housekeeping questions while you post it to Master B. But that's right up your alley, so I'll lean on you, Brian, obviously.
Okay, yeah.
You dig it out.
I thought the title was kind of... Sorry, Nathan.
No, I was just going to ask another housekeeping question. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I thought the title was kind of funny, being that he was the one talking about flat baselines in his last video in address to us. The title of that was quite ironic.
It'll be Dave McKeegan rides again and proving a flat Earth whilst postulating whether or not we are flat Earth surveyors. I mean, I'm sure John will pipe up as well during this presentation, but I'll lean on you two for the reasons I disclosed in the pre-show. But yeah, so we'll get to it in a minute. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Don't all go at once.
No, there can't be.
Nobody in Discord got proof of that. Scientific proof of that. Whatever that is.
What's the phenomenon first?
Well, Brian's digging it out, right?
That's a good example of the protection, isn't it? Yeah.
Second, Adam.
So that's a good example of the protected state of heliocentrism with regards to, is there any scientific evidence? That's the thing that's protected. The belief that there is scientific evidence. That's where you'll get attacked, ridiculed if you challenge things. That's where it's protection. Not that it's real. Well, it's got any scientific evidence to back it up, but you'll be the one that's ridiculed, your worldview attacked, because you dare to question that protection that it's given.
Yep. I mean, you even got people in the mainstream who will claim they are science, and criticizing them is criticizing science. It's incredible.
This is something that I'm hoping to appeal to Jaron on. We've had our battles over science. He's called us scammers. However, this is something where a better understanding and a better knowledge of what science is would result in Jaron being a more formidable opponent for globe believers. That understanding of where science has been hijacked and, as Adam puts it, protected, the pseudoscience claims of non-scientists are what is protected, right, Adam?
Yeah, exactly. They're allowed to present. And look at Brian Cox. Look at what he presents to you. Yeah, and you can't challenge that that's not science. You'd be attacked and ridiculed, not based on the content of your critique, but what you're attacking.
80 people watching. Please share the show. Smash that share button.
So Nathan, why don't you call him in for a little meeting, get together with Jaron, and try to break it down for him. Let him know you got a bigger audience, and aren't we in this together, and see what you get.
I can only appeal to my own audience, you know. In that regard, I can keep doing what we do. I've suggested to QE that we have a Ballbusters that's got a scientific focus again. But I want to preface when we're doing it to say, no, I want to appeal to someone on our own side who I want better things for in terms of their ability to take apart a scientific claim from the Globe side. And that's something we've been focused on for 5, 6, maybe even more years. And I don't see any reason why we shouldn't try and impart that onto our friends, which is what we're going to consider Jaron in this scenario.
I made a proposition. Sorry, John, I'll go after you. Go on.
I was going to say, but, you know, setting the feast of nonsense, putting that stuff out on the table, gets you jacked up in the algorithm. So how are you going to sell that to someone who's being boosted in the algorithm because of that thing?
I don't know. I just know what's right, and, you know, strives within the algorithm have to come second to a person that's in the community and considered highly having a misapprehension about what science is and isn't, and a minor tweak to their language from science has lied to me to pseudoscience has hijacked science to lie to me, which is what's actually happened. Now, the more times we can reiterate that with Jaron's name being mentioned as we do so, you would hope that the message would eventually, via osmosis through the people who listen, whatever means, make its way to Jaron and hopefully have a positive effect. That's what I'm hoping for.
Which to me is the crazy part. Sorry, Brian. I was just gonna say real quick, just because that to me that's the crazy part, right? Because I remember Jaron used to very much focus on the difference between science and what before we started using the name of it, the actual name pseudoscience, they would call it scientism, which is pretty much the same shit, right? And he would focus on that. So this is where I don't understand what happened, like how it went down this route. It's a little crazy to me, but whatever.
I proposed to QE. I don't know if he's going to respond to it. Last night that we should do a Ballbuster show purely on every topic within the Feast of Nonsense and go through each topic: ice walls, upward moving earth, all this kind of stuff. Go through each topic, and show it for what it is. The history of it and all this kind of stuff. So there's something then, a show, a presentation that can be presented to somebody and go, this is the Feast of Nonsense. Stay away from this Feast of Nonsense. This is what's out there to fool you. Do you know what I mean? I think that would be a good Ballbusters. I think so.
I'd hesitate to say stay away from it.
I know it.
You know what I'm saying? Because you can't. I mean, you really can't tell people what to get involved in or not, right? But recognizing when it's just that, the Feast of Nonsense, like we call it, and the actual empirical nature of what flat Earth is, I think just recognizing that difference is important. But I wouldn't tell somebody to stay away from, whatever they want to get into, mountains or melted buildings, and upward.
Well, that's something else I was going to mention, because it is negative, right? What you're saying is you don't want to get into the nonsense that they spew. Fine. Well, I do. I mean, we are talking about the nature of our world, and when people postulate things about Antiquitech or stuff like that, well, we are going to still want to pull it apart. That's what we do here. But I want to do that in a way that the person who's having it done doesn't suddenly turn around and call us scammers or tell their audience to unsubscribe from us, and vice versa. In other words, where our opponents claim illegitimately to be having a cordial discussion, I want to have that actually in effect when we disagree with other people on our own side, where we can genuinely cross-promote within the tiny little pond that we find ourselves in, rather than pulling ourselves apart. Now, this is the main criticism that I get whenever we're critical of someone like Jaren, for example. You know, I've seen his quote go by in the chat. I don't know if it's still on there. I'll bring it up and see if it's still there by the person who quoted him.
You don't think Adam was cordial the other day? You don't think Chewie was cordial with Rachel the other day? I thought they were.
That's not what I mean. What I mean is, at the end of that process, I just quote Jaren, I told Nathan, you know, science doesn't prove anything, end quote. Right, we want to change that attitude by disseminating the facts of how science does prove things, and therefore why it's been used in name only to claim they've got proof of things they haven't got scientific evidence for, when they just say science, making it by definition pseudoscience, a claim where the scientific method's not been applied to something suggested as science. That's what pseudoscience is. So, like I say, this is a very subtle change that Jaren would have to make. But upon doing so, he then highlights and exposes the lack of science in people's claims of science, rather than throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Anyway, I've kind of lost track.
Well, my point about the Ballbuster show involving the Feast of Nonsense is not to name names. Don't point fingers and name names, because then all you're doing is creating a division. Just point out, just go through each topic and point out why it's ridiculous. Like the debunkings of it, or these kind of things, why it's ridiculous, and why this stuff is dangerous, and how it doesn't help us.
Michael Morley was brought up the other day by that guy Johnny.
Or if you don't want to offend people off right, you could just say, well, we could talk about what evidence there is for it and what evidence there isn't for it, right? Instead of just saying why it's just ridiculous, because there are people that want to get into it and just saying offhand it's ridiculous. You know,
yeah, but that's what we're going to be also presenting. Why? Yeah, but when we present the topic, let's just say we go to ice water, right? And we talk about the ice water. We can't say that there isn't an ice water, but we need to go through why it's ridiculous to make that as a claim and where that puts you, what position it puts you in the if you're against an anti-flat earther, or if you're dealing with someone of the general public, and how they can put you in a position where you end up having to try to prove something that you are not in a position to prove. Things like that. It's like, show why it's troublesome. Show why it's why something is troublesome, or why it's ridiculous, or why it's not a good claim to make. Because that's what the Feast of Nonsense is. It just leads you into a heap of rubbish.
So you just want to teach people how to debate properly.
No, it's not all about debate. It's not all about debate. It's about pointing out why these things are bad debating points, or why something is ridiculous. Or why something is debunked. Why there isn't. Like, go through each topic. It's like if we keep on saying the Feast of Nonsense, then we're not defining what those things are. We need to group all those things together and do a whole Ballbusters hosted by QE presentation on each one of those things, what they are, and why they're troublesome, either to the argument or they're just purely ridiculous because they don't help us publicly. They don't help anything. Go through some of the history.
Right, sorry to interrupt you guys.
Yeah.
So just going to shout out, just about to hit 100 people watching, so 99 people currently watching. Massive shout out to all of you who shared the show and got us up to 100 people watching on this first live show back after a small gap. So really appreciate it. If you have just joined us, thank you very much for clicking on the link that you got shared. Please do the same and share the show out on Facebook and Twitter. So yeah, big shout out to all of you who've just joined us. Please share the show. Okay, with that in mind, in the same way that we do this for Globers, and it was nice to do it in a positive manner on the last show for Mitchell from Australia, the same applies when I'm talking about Jaren, in the respect that we tend to condemn each other rather than as we're doing now for Dave McKeegan, who is technically the enemy, promoting his stuff. You know, I'm sticking a link to his YouTube channel and his video and suggesting people go and help him in the algorithm by commenting on his video and saying at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, which is only something positive in terms of Dave McKeegan's view count and whatever, you know. Why isn't it letting me paste? Sorry, I'm just figuring out why it won't let me paste this link. Let's just try that once more. Highlighting it. Anyway, so yeah, let Dave McKeegan know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully, if I can get this link to ever work. I don't know why I'm having an issue copying it. It says it's copied to the clipboard. Doesn't seem to let me want to do it. Maybe if someone from the moderator team can check me out, moderator team can link it. Let's just try it. Ah, there we go. Paste. So there's a link going by to Dave McKeegan's video. And as I just said, if you can let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and just make him aware that we've responded to his video about why are there no flat earth surveyors, which is the name of his video. So yeah, check it out. Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Now I'm going to lean on Brian. Typically I'd just say I don't know much about this video, but I'll respond as I see fit. But this is Brian's suggestion because it's right up his alley. You know, he's second only to 10th Man, who, let's be honest, is much better than Brian. But you know, we'll make do with Brian for today. And
when
yeah,
it comes to surveying,
I was just pulling your leg.
Before you even start the video, the title of the video is completely fraudulent, because I've spoken with several people who are surveyors and provably surveyors, and I can name out two people who are well-known people, which is Chris Van Matry and Rodney B, who were surveyors. Who are, I think Chris Van Matry is retired, but Rodney B is still working, and they were in around the circuit for years. So to say that there was no flat earth, why there was no flat earth surveyors, is a completely fraudulent beginning to his video, because it's completely wrong.
How are there no flat earth surveyors when the earth they're surveying is flat?
Yeah, well, there you go. You see, this is going to be leaning on a heap of rubbish.
One, hope you're doing well, and thanks for joining us for another video. Now, regardless of which side of the fence you're on about what shape the Earth is, one thing we all seem to be able to agree on is that surveying works. I don't mean the people who stand in the street with a clipboard asking you 95 different questions about your latest bowel movement. I'm talking about surveying using equipment such as theodolite to survey an area of land and get accurate measurements.
Hey, Brian.
So you already began with a false dichotomy about regardless of what side you rest on, there's only one shape claim, and that's the globe claim.
Yeah, there is no flat. Flat's not a shape. Exactly. Flat is not a shape. But what I would say to you straight away from what he said is that this is something that we've seen for years with the borders. They'll start detailing a discipline and talk about how it works, and then they try to hijack it. Because this is a discipline that's used in reality, then they try to hijack it and say, hey, it proves the globe, when it never does.
That's how they start off. They're affirming the consequent. Tell you something that works. Hey, you know why that works? Because we're on a globe.
Yep.
Which can then be
on a globe.
used in things like
on a globe.
engineering projects. Now, if engineering surveying wasn't accurate, then big engineering projects would quickly go very wrong. And in a recent video, I'd shown an excerpt from a surveying training website called Learn CST, which was run by the National Society of Professional Surveyors in America. And the webpage in question was called Curvature Definitions for Land Surveyors.
Okay.
This should be interesting. And
the last definition
definitions.
Yeah.
It's a rate of change.
Yeah, exactly. It's a rate of slope. That's what curvature is defined as in surveying.
On that page was explaining how land surveyors include 6 centimetres of correction per 1 kilometre of measured distance to account for the curvature of the Earth. Obviously, that is something they wouldn't have to do if the Earth was flat.
Right, that's brilliant. Now, what tools did he use to do this with, and where is the evidence to do this?
And in the video, I also included a demonstration that someone had done using a theodolite across a lake to show that the lake itself follows the curve of Earth.
No, what they're showing.
Jesse
uh,
The what of the what?
Hold on. What he's showing is a theodolite with a dip to the horizon, and then claiming that that's the curve of the Earth. Now, we've had this thrashed out with other surveyors. Who was the guy that we covered this with in 2018, Adam?
Jesse Kozlowski.
Jesse Kozlowski. Course. No, this is a dip to the horizon. It's a perspective view. That's what we're seeing.
Well, you're above the horizon.
No. But sorry, what's his claim in relation to the horizon?
Yes.
Ouch. So
Yeah.
what's the horizon then?
In his claim, it's got to be
Let's firm up his claim, what he's claiming here, because we don't need to go any further if his points of reference are through to the horizon, which he states is the leading edge of a ball.
Yeah, well, that's the first problem. Second problem is it's sea level, the horizon sea level. So if you're standing with and your eye height above the water is 6 feet, then you're 6 feet above the horizon. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's why it's calculated in celestial navigation as a vertical height difference above the water underneath the boat.
Precisely.
Dip correction.
That's the first place I'd go to. So this is a dip assertion. Well, yeah, he's above the deck with his theodolite. Okay, so what? You're talking about a perspective view and the dip between you and the deck. That's not Earth curve. But what are you saying? Excuse me, this is where we move on to Adam's point. What are you saying? You're saying that the horizon represents a physical geometric sphere edge? Black Swan. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance to that horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as dictated by your Earth curve geometry. The distance to horizon in the Black Swan shows it's beyond those limitations, therefore Earth's not a sphere, and the horizon's not an Earth curve.
I even had a professional...
Sorry.
Go on,
Sorry, I
Brian.
can't see the video. But I know the only people that claim to be surveyors that brought out these kind of stupid videos or images were people who were just on the anti-flat earther side. And most of them, with the exception of Jesse Kozlowski, the rest of them were never able to prove they were surveyors.
Surveyor comment on that video to confirm that they do correct for Earth curvature. Despite all of that, there are still...
That's the standard. A comment on a YouTube video. You having me on? His assertion is that you're correcting essentially 8 inches per mile squared. Okay. Well, let's see it. You're telling me that theodolite view is what represents the geometric limitation at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and Earth curve at 8 inches per the mile squared dropping away from your position. Well, that's a surveyed drop. I want to see it bloody surveyed. I don't see a YouTube comment. That's the standard.
Flat earthers that say...
It's the wrong tool. It's the wrong tool. If they were going to be measuring a change in elevation, which is what curvature has to be, then they must be using auto levels. Theodolites measure angles, vertical and azimuth. They don't measure Earth curve or Earth changes in the Earth's elevation based off of sea level. That is what's known as rise over run, which uses horizontal distances between parallel verticals, kind of like a measurement within celestial navigation, with the exception of the horizontals will be at different elevations to each other between the verticals. Because the whole point of it, that's how they measure slope. They're measuring slope based off of the different horizontal, parallel horizontal heights.
Correct for Earth curvature, and that water is flat and level, etc., etc.
Switch to the newest Google Pixel device.
Right, that's one of the tools they're using.
The dip correction can't work unless sea level is a horizontal. That means celestial navigation wouldn't work. It would always be wrong. This is the point. Sea level is a horizontal.
Start by creating a clear workflow on my...
Now, after that video, I actually had the head of a large surveying firm reach out to me privately to show me some more surveying material that they had that related to debunking flat Earth.
Right, what about just showing a measurement? A survey of it being surveyed as curving? So far, we've had a YouTube comment and some historical flat Earth debunkings. No, these people are supposed to be measuring stuff, aren't they? Show us the measurement they made. Not a comment from YouTube.
I want more than the measurement. I want the tools they use and the processes they use.
Yeah.
So that can be replicated. Because they can just give you anything and call it a measurement.
Right.
I want more than that.
Comes back to what we were saying the other week. What are the standards for us versus globe believers? Well, the standards for a globe believer is really low. A YouTube comment will do it.
And it comes from a book called Surveying for Engineers.
Sorry, someone's at my door. Can you take over, Brian?
Yeah, I will do. Yeah. But this is just the same nonsense. Like, who is this surveyor that supposedly reached out to him? You know, who is this guy? Will this guy publicly be named? You know, can I contact this guy? Can he go through the process with me? Is it possible for me to go to where he is and go out with him and he use his tools and show me how he's measuring garbage up? Is he willing to do that? How is he going to get over a water level? Is he going to deal with that? Do you know what I mean? Does he agree that horizontal exists? Because if he believes he's on a globe, horizontals can't exist. And you
right.
you can have a tangent plane, but you can't have
a baseline. He's going to need a baseline, and in this case, is sea level for elevation profiles. That is.
Yeah, but if we're on a globe, he must use tangent planes, and that means you can only use one vertical. And it's not even a vertical because the tangent plane is not horizontal, because there's no reference for horizontal on a globe.
Right. Well, we'll see.
In reality, we have the horizon.
So far as referencing his sources, we'll see how much actual meat he puts on the bone. Let's have a look.
So I went and bought myself a copy. It's nearly 600 pages long, and it is almost as brilliant for learning as Brilliant.org. Brilliant has hundreds of classes covering continuous, very relaxed you. They've recently intrigued /data. Like I said, this is Surveying for Engineering, which is about 600 pages.
We got that the first time. Okay, we know how many pages the book's got.
Pages that looks at, well, I'll just quote the back of the book.
Why don't you tell us the methodology and measurements that have come from it for a globe Earth with a curvature at the stated measurements you gave earlier, rather than telling us what's on the outside of the book?
The text covers engineering surveying up to the end of most second-year degree courses in civil engineering, building and construction.
Who cares? Just show us globe Earth measurements.
And is suitable for BTEC courses from level 3.
Again, who cares? We're interested in how it says they're measuring Earth as a sphere.
It's written by John Urin and Bill Price. Now, John Urin is a senior lecturer and currently deputy head at the university associated with land in 1985. This is the third edition. The edition is intended as an update to keep up with new equipment and new practices.
My God! Has he got so little substance in respect to Earth being measured spherical that he's got to go through this fluff for a straight minute?
Everything. Yes. From understanding how to set up the equipment, how to use it.
Whoa. Understanding how to set up the equipment. Slide, up for a second, up. Whoa. You're going to need to slow down there, sunshine. You're going to need to go through what's being done, the tools being used, not just flash them up on screen for a second. What's all this? You need to detail what's going on.
Is it how to interpret the data?
Oh, that slide looked interesting. See if I can pause on that one.
Intended as an update to keep up with new equipment and new practices. And it covers everything from understanding how to set up the equipment, how to use it.
Oh, what we got here? This looks interesting. Let's blow this up nice and large so we can have a little goosey. This looks like angle measurements off a flat plane. Anybody see this from the G+ panel? What we got here?
No.
Can no one see what's on screen from the G+ Hangout in the live stream? If you go and pick up the live stream, I'm prepared to wait.
I gotta go to YouTube.
Let's not break the momentum with mumbling. Can you go to the live stream?
Yeah, they're using a baseline.
This is going to require a flat Earth. I'm going to get up. It's too small for me to see on my little screen. I'm going to go up to the projector and just have a closer look. Can you chat amongst yourselves just for 10 seconds while I have a closer look?
Yeah, absolutely. I will point out that in engineering... Go on, George. Oh, I go then.
No, it's depicting a horizontal plane and then the elevations from it. That's how it's done. Yeah, but it requires a flat plane, though.
Yeah, because it's all elevations are vertical heights above mean sea level. The mean sea level must be horizontal because all verticals have to be parallel to do elevation. Because that's what like rise over run is. It's the vertical height differences across horizontal. It's just a breaking up of the horizontal. You know, all horizontals will be parallel to each other.
Yeah, if you're going to use a theodolite, you're going to need to get that sucker level, you know?
Exactly, and the same with auto levels have to be, you know what I mean, the whole point of an auto level is so it's level, horizontal. It creates the horizontal. That's what you need, because that's what rise over run is. It's a change in elevation, differential leveling as well. Same thing, part of rise over run. You know, where you have a person in the middle with a totally leveled auto level, and you have a person with a measuring rod of one behind them and in front of them. He takes a measurement of the person in front of him and does a 180 and does the same for the person behind them. And they move along. They move along then from there, and you know it allows them to get a measurement of elevation. I mean, over a patch of land. You know what I mean? So if there whatever hills or valleys or whatever or is in that, you know, that's how they measure it. You know, it's all based on slopes after that.
What I'm looking at on screen now is a flat Earth, A to B. That line is not curving. That's a flat baseline. So this slide that Dave McKeegan had up for a fraction of a second, this is proof of a flat Earth and how it's being measured, Dave. Why did you not focus on this slide for a prolonged period? Did you think the back of the book was more important than this that was only on screen for a fraction of a second? This proves Earth's flat, and how it's being measured is by way of a flat baseline, as depicted from A to B in both diagrams.
Yeah,
well,
because
that's pretty consistent with his last video where he was talking all about how a flat, perfect baseline is used. So that's pretty consistent. Thanks, Dave.
Well, if you're measuring elevation changes, then you're measuring a horizontal distance between two vertical heights, right? That's what you're doing. You always have to use, so all the horizontals, although they might be at different elevations to each other, they're still all parallel to each other. So you have to use a horizontal. There's no way to do it. There's no other way. That's how you do it. And if you're talking about, and that would be used for a roadway, a rail line, for piping, anything like that, it has to be done that way. Then if you're talking about using a theodolite, if you're talking about angles that are in the horizontal, that are azimuth, that's a horizontal angle measurement, if you understand what I mean, because you're measuring azimuth.
Couple of quick shout outs. Shout out to Thea Megawerty. He says the ground below you is below you, therefore globe. Yeah, right on. Also, Kotsura says, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Neil, could you say it, please? Thanks. Heaps. The answer is no, he cannot and will not. How dare you even ask? Thank you very much for the super chat, Kotsura. I really appreciate the support.
The very moment you want Neil to say something, he won't say anything.
Okay, more importantly, Dave McKeegan's proving Earth's measured flat. His slide that stayed up for a very short period of time is showing the methodology of measuring Earth with a flat baseline. Here it is on screen now.
Sorry, my mute button was not coming off.
Well, let's not focus on the flat plane. Let's not focus on the flat plane. Let's hear the explanation of how the flat plane's a sphere now.
Interpret the data and so much more. Essentially, this is a book written by surveyors for the purpose of training new surveyors.
On how they measure a flat Earth. You just showed one measurement with a load of tables and graphs. The tables and graphs you didn't qualify in any way, but the measurement we didn't need you to, because it had a flat baseline, Dave. Yeah? Earth had to be measured flat?
It's not called How to Lie About the Shape of the Earth.
It's called How to Measure Earth with a Flat Baseline and Elevation Angles.
And it contains several...
Was that projection just now?
Sounds like it.
The book should be called How to Lie About the Shape of the Earth, because if they're claiming they're measuring curvature in that book and they're not, which they're not, then it is a lie.
Just not the lie he thinks.
sections that are rather damning to flat earthers.
Really? What, like measuring the flat baseline that you showed on screen for a couple of seconds?
And it's been in circulation for 45 years.
Celestial navigation's been used for a lot longer than that, Dave. It all uses a flat earth baseline, like the one you described last time, triangles.
So let's jump straight into chapter 2.
Didn't need to. You've already flashed up some of the images that show how it's done. When you say let's jump in, is that what, notwithstanding the flat earth measurement that was just flashed up on screen for a second or two? Notwithstanding that, right, Dave?
Leveling.
If you just...
Leveling, eh? Do I need to critique this? Should we just let him read it out?
Section 2.1, level and horizontal.
Go on.
If you jump out the gate and hit yourself in the face with a shovel, I mean, where you got to go from there, you know?
Lines. Now, flat earthers will say that level means flat and...
Please, go back just 10 seconds to start that section, please, Nathan. This will be important.
Chapter 2, leveling. Section 2.1, level and horizontal lines. Now, flat earthers will say that level means flat and...
That's your cue, Brian.
No, it's this part I want to hear. It's this
water finds its...
because you and John were talking.
On level, so therefore water and subsequently the earth is flat.
See, the thing is, Dave, it's defined in your geometry. You have a begging the question proof and, I think, calculator for your earth curve. And that calculator defines what level is. Surface level. It's part of your geometry. Yeah? In Euclidean terms, it has to be defined in order for you to derive an earth curve below that surface level. Now, you're saying flat earthers say that level means level. No, your earth curve geometry also says level is level. It's very clearly labelled in all of your earth curve geometries. Now, that surface level in earth curve geometry is very much a horizontal, straight, flat line. Now, if you're about to tell me how level isn't level, then you better get on to Mick West and Walter Bislin and the people who produce things like the Metabunk curve calculator, because they have to define in their geometry what level means. And it's horizontal, flat in your globe earth geometry. Now, if you're going to be a bonehead and tell us that that's not the case, you're going to have a big problem.
Now, quote, the term level line and horizontal line are used frequently in leveling and need to be carefully defined. A level line or surface is defined as a line along which all points are the same height.
Okay. So no drop if they're all the same height, meaning level. Okay.
Because the Earth is curved, level lines are also curved.
That's a contradiction in terms. To say that they aren't differing in height, level also means curve, when curve specifically does not mean equal in height. This is a contradiction in terms. This tells me that Dave is too stupid to recognise a contradiction in terms.
As shown in figure 2.1.
You see how this isn't the same height as this? Yeah? That would contradict the first half of the definition, read out by you, where they are of the same height. Now, riddle me this, clown shoes. Are these the same height? Because if they're not, it contradicts the first part of the definition of level. This would also infer that the geometry in earth curve mathematics that also has level defined as horizontal and flat is wrong. Because according to you, the very flat and level surface level in earth curve geometry shouldn't be flat and in fact should be bent. When bending, it would mean that one part is of a different height to another, contradicting the first half of your contradiction in terms definition. You complete clown.
Well, also, level has to be a horizontal plane that you're standing on and at your eye level, because for the depression angles he's getting ready to assert, he needs a horizontal baseline and an angle to the surface. So he's going to need two flat planes there. That he can't curve level because it's his eye level that he's going to take that angle from.
A horizontal line is one which is normal to the direction of gravity at a particular point, such as P in figure 2.2.
He's just invoked a tangent point underneath his feet, and he's calling it a horizontal, yet he'll invoke another one across an arc and call that horizontal as well. That means none of them are horizontal, because none of them can be referenced to anything. There's no reference for horizontal within his claim.
He just said horizontal. He just said horizontal's bending it. I'm just saying, he said horizontal is conforming to gravity.
Yes. So horizontal must now be...
No, that's not what he means. That's not what he means.
I know, Brian, but that's we're not focused on what you mean. We're focused on what he's saying.
Yeah, but what he's actually saying is not that. I'm trying to tell you what he's saying.
But we could just
give me a moment.
Okay.
What he's saying when he says it's to gravity, what he's talking about there is he's replacing the term vertical or zenith with gravity. The direction of gravity is down. So what he's saying is he's creating a perpendicular with a straight line that's going to a point on his globe, to the center of that globe, but where it meets the Earth, his Earth at that point, that's where the center of his tangent plane will be, and he's claiming that tangent plane is creates a perpendicular with that line.
Gotcha.
But when he makes the next line, that's also going to the center of his globe, and he's going to make another different horizontal, a different angle and degree to the original horizontal.
Gotcha.
So which one of them are horizontal?
Gotcha.
You understand? This is how they make the question.
Tangent planes and Dingleberry Earth. Gotcha.
Are therefore tangential to level lines at individual points.
Or tangential to level lines. Tangential to level lines. So are they tangential to the bent lines? Or are the tangents straight? Because if the tangents are level, aren't they also bent? Because according to this, a tangent can also be... Get the picture up. Where is it?
To be kept.
According to him, level, which a tangent would be, a straight line, can also be curved, according to him, because the Earth is curved, according to this contradictory statement that he's reading out as I keep him on mute. Well, if that's the case, then your tangent can also be like this, can't it, Dave? Yeah, your tangent, that can be bent, correct? Doesn't need to be straight, because it doesn't have to conform and be at the same height. It could be at varying heights, okay? No, you can't bend straight lines. Horizontal is horizontal, regardless of this contradictory doublespeak that simultaneously needs tangent planes to be in reference when straight to perpendicular gravity straight lines coming from the centre. Well, that's still tangent planes. That's straight, flat surfaces on a presupposed ball. Whereas you're saying, no, level can be bent. Well, then why do you need tangent planes? If level can be bent, then you don't need a tangent plane. They can all just conform your angles to these curves because level doesn't have to be straight anymore. It's absolutely nonsensical how he's depicting this nonsense, because he's taking something that is fundamentally defined in geometry and saying it can be bent so that you can achieve that. Straight line to the centre of Earth with a tangent plane. No, we haven't got it. Where's the straight line coming from if straight doesn't mean straight anymore?
Surfaces are therefore tangential to level lines at individual points. So what this means is that a horizontal line is a line that is perpendicular to the vertical line at any given point.
Well, then if it's like that, then these two positions aren't possible, because every point between them has got a curved baseline between them. Why are you depicting it this way? Earth's supposed to have a curved surface between the two. You're saying that you can measure it flat locally?
And because the Earth is curved,
it's
then...
just part of the household.
Hold on, Chocolate. He said, because the Earth is curved. Dave, are you blind? I mean, I'm just asking, because according to this diagram, it isn't. So what are you babbling about?
The vertical lines of two different locations won't be perfectly parallel to each other.
But they are. It's one of the principles of surveying.
And so the horizontal lines won't perfectly align with each other either.
See, that's interesting, Dave, because in your diagram that you had up when you flashed it up for a second really early on, they were very much on a horizontal baseline, both of them. Do you not recall showing us it in that diagram that you flashed up for a second or two? They weren't pointing away from each other.
This is the basis of the theodolite demonstration, which...
It's basis of the demonstration or basis of how they described it in the book when they showed it on a horizontal baseline, Dave? Because in the book, you did flash up how they do it, but you're now referring to pictures of theodolites out in the field, as opposed to the diagrammatical examples of how this would be done. You've just thrown up your cartoons rather than what the book showed. You only showed what the book showed for a second, and now you're going to photographs of people in the field after giving us your cartoons. Where's the book? When 10th Man goes through what Harold Jacobi details about how measuring angles off a flat Earth can save your life at sea, he doesn't go out to pictures in the field, he just shows you how it's done and details how it's done with flat Earth elevation angle measurements off flat baselines. Like you also showed in this book.
Which I'd included in my other video. Put a theodolite and a target on...
Show us what's in the book. You babbled on about the book for ages. Where's the book?
Either side of a lake and set them to...
Why are we back to this cartoon? Where's the book? Where's the diagrammatical example from the book you prefaced this garbage with, Dave? Do we need your cartoon? Shouldn't there be an example in the book?
Is he saying that eye level is horizontal, but surface level is not?
Not in their geometry. Their geometry has it depicted as surface level and it's flat and horizontal.
To the same height above the waterline. If the lake is flat, then
this voids your argument.
The horizontal measurement of the theodolite would mean it was pointing straight at the target.
No, you see, what you've got here is an orthographic representation. And when you showed your pictures a second ago, we weren't seeing the side of the theodolite. What we were seeing is people's view through the theodolite, a perspective view, which is what I highlighted immediately. So these pictures... Sorry, why is it that I'm not seeing the side of the theodolite? Because when you hijack perspective, as I pointed out earlier, when I showed that you're just accounting for dip, the ground's below the theodolite when you look at the horizon, yeah? Well, those views don't match with these views. So you're doing a bit of a swindle here, Dave, because you're showing us what comes out of the lens on a theodolite in these images, but then you're moving to an orthographic view that shows the side view. See, this doesn't look like I'm seeing the theodolite. It looks like you're referencing the horizon and assuming it's Earth curve in spite of the black swan. But yet, when you go to your diagrammatical example of how this would work on a sphere Earth, we're not seeing what we see through the theodolite. We're seeing the side of the theodolite. That's because part of your geometry, we fondly label begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, Earth curve mathematics, requires that suddenly what we're describing through the lens of a theodolite is now us actually seeing the side of our own head in Muppet vision, also known as an orthographic view. No, Dave, we don't see the world whilst looking at the side of our own heads. And that wasn't what you showed a second ago, so I don't really understand why you've got this example on screen now. I mean, we'd also wonder why you're doing this cartoon when you've got a book to refer to, and it has got the diagrams of how this is done. You just chose to only have it up for a second after lending credence to your cartoons with the book, which this isn't. This isn't the book, Dave.
Nathan,
the waterline.
I have a set of orthographic binoculars to sell Dave if he's interested. They're going at a good price.
All right, orthographic binoculars. You look through them and see the side of your own head, do you?
Yeah, you see everything side on, yeah.
If the lake is flat, then the horizontal measurement of the theodolite would...
Sorry, the measurement would be through the lens of the theodolite, though. Do we take measurements and then see the side of our own heads, looking at arrows? No, we don't.
Mean it was pointing straight at the target.
We wouldn't know. This is an orthographic view.
If the lake is curved, the target would sit below horizontal.
Really? Because as I'm looking at things through theodolites, I'm not seeing angled side-on in orthographic view. But that's what you need for Earth curve. You need to be in Muppet vision looking at the side of our own head from space.
Which is what happens.
Really? So you're going to suggest that we've got a physical tangent point horizon? Well, if we've got a tangent point horizon, it would be no Atmo day, as we discussed in the pre-show. Black Swan. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles and every distance to the geometric horizon asserted at this tangent point could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and the distance to horizon in the Black Swan shows it's beyond the physical limitations of a sphere Earth radius 3959, therefore the horizon's not geometric, not Earth curve, and the Earth is not a sphere. Now, if you're to assert that we can get tangent lines, what is it? No Atmo day. Are you getting a tangent? Are you familiar with all of your brethren on the anti-flat Earth side telling us that we've got atmosphere? Yeah? Are you unaware of that? 7/6R in standard form. You're never going to get a tangent line, bonehead.
A level line, by comparison, is...
Sorry, is this level? What? Not having anything higher or lower than it, but you show a bent line when you say when we have level. And it's even marked in your stupid nonsense globe asserting book as being a level line. Now, again, it's back to my 4-year-old. When I try to explain to her what level means, this isn't it, Dave. Again, like the guy who bent lines for triangles. That would be straight lines meeting at vertices. This is not a level line, you complete idiot. You only need to look at your own globe Earth geometry, where it says surface level, to know that your geometry also requires on level being level.
Is judged as a line of which is equal height above mean sea level.
So lots of things being described as level.
Because the Earth isn't flat, then a level...
Because the Earth isn't flat, by assumption, we're going to have flat tangent planes that aren't the bent lines you just described. So we still need to use straight flat lines that we acquire when we assume the straight flat lines that could also be bent, but we're going to be using them straight, move to the centre of a sphere Earth that I assume. No, Dave, you've just explained that you don't need these straight lines because they could be bent, but yet you're still utilising tangent planes when begging the question of a sphere Earth.
Level line...
Yes, you can.
Sorry, can I point out that surveying prior to GPS and now due to surveying with GPS, or due to surveying in GPS, the raw data that comes out of a GPS unit is Cartesian, and it's referencing the surface of the Earth. It's not referencing the center. That's spherical, right? It's referencing the surface because that's what surveyors use. They use Cartesian, right? Cartesian means that all the zeniths, right, for every Cartesian system, which are verticals, must be parallel to each other. Rise over run, right, which is how they determine elevations above mean sea level, is based off of horizontal distances between two vertical heights above mean sea level. And that's how they span for roadways, whether they're going from Los Angeles to Carolina. It doesn't matter. It's all horizontals that are parallel to each other and verticals that are parallel to each other.
Cool. 123 people watching. Please share the show if you've just joined us. Very warm welcome to you. You've only joined because someone shared the show with you, but it's good to have you. And please return the favour in kind by sharing the show. So smash that button, stick it on Facebook, stick it on Twitter, let people know. Shout it out your window if you don't have a share button available to you. Let them know. Flat Earth Debate is live. We'll stay so for a little while because I'm going to test the computer in a minute. We're only halfway through this video, so we'll do a little bit more, but then we may have to do this tomorrow.
Doesn't match a horizontal line. The book then doesn't...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what Brian just said there. Have you got a citation for that, right? Because as soon as you've got that, it destroys them, doesn't it? If they've got to be parallel, it destroys them.
Well, the citation I'm going to get a QE. I have to get a few for QE, but the one I showed there tonight, I can show it. I'd have to.
Yes, please.
Where is it handy?
Yes, please. We'll chill.
Yeah, I can.
I'll chat with Adam while you dig it out.
I'll get it from the
yes,
QE.
Please.
1 second. I'll come back.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, what was it, Adam? Just so you can tell the audience what Brian's about to tell them before he tells them.
Yeah, so what he mentioned there was talking about how surveying's done and that they're going to use parallel horizontals, so i.e. non-diverging zeniths, which if you're on a curved surface where down is generated by your orientation to the centre of a sphere, you will always have diverging zeniths.
Right, but that's not how it's done.
No, and that's the point I'm making. If Brian can get that citation and that's how it's done, then that in of itself, yeah, describes the fact that the zeniths aren't diverging. And if you don't have to account for a diverging zenith, then it's a flat baseline you're working from.
Hello, Quantum Eraser. Check me out with a completely smoothly running show. No issues.
Good to hear.
Yeah, it is. Right. Okay,
What's
Brian.
happening, ladies?
Got your citation up when you're ready, Brian. tell us what it is?
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, I'll just go back. I'll have to pull it up. See, local. There's a pause up there. So this is called local tangent plane coordinates, right? So let's make it big there so I can see it. Local tangent plane coordinates, LTP, sometimes named local vertical, local horizontal coordinates, LVLH, are a geographical coordinate system based on the local vertical direction and the Earth's axis of rotation, right? You can ignore that. It consists of 3 coordinates. One represents the position along the northern axis, one along the local eastern axis, and one represents the vertical position. 2 right-handed variants exist, east-north up, ENU, coordinates, and northeast down, NED, coordinates. They serve for representing state vectors that are commonly used in aviation and marine cybernetics. Now, if we just go down, never mind axes, go down to the next. Local east-north up. In many targeting and tracking applications, the local east-north up ENU Cartesian coordinate system is far more intuitive and practical than ECEF, which is what Dave is representing from the center of his Earth, or geodetic coordinates. The local ENU coordinates are formed from a tangent plane to the Earth's surface fixed to a specific location, and hence it is sometimes known as a local tangent or local geodetic plane. By convention, the east axis is labeled X, the north Y, and the up Z. Local northeast down in an airplane, most objects of interest are below the aircraft, so it is sensible to define down as a positive number. The northeast down NED coordinates allow this as an alternative to ENU by convention. The north axis is labeled Z, the east Y, and the down Z. To avoid confusion between the X and X, etc. Is this article? In this article we will restrict the local coordinates claimed to ENU. So what they're saying there, and as you can see up at the diagram they have there, Nathan, up in the corner, if you look at that green square where they have the north, up, and east, that is what that green square is what surveying is referencing. Now, when they move on to the next square above that,
before you move on,
square, go on. Sorry, Adam. Adam,
before you move, you made a
You're roboting, Adam.
Yeah,
Adam, you're roboting. Oh, he's ruining this for everyone, isn't he, Brian?
Adam, you're roboting.
Hold on, he's back. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah.
Much better. Didn't break the flow at all. Glad of your input.
Oh, I'm back.
Okay,
there you go.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Brian just said there that the surveyors are creating a geodesic plane. So is that a plane or is it curved? It sounded to me like the way in which they imagine they're on a ball, but to take the measurements and do the calculations, they generate a flat plane and build it on that. That sounded like what was being kind of admitted at that point by the description of a geodesic plane, which is a flat Earth as far as by any other language.
Geodetic, Adam. It's geodetic plane.
Geodetic plane. Sorry.
Yeah, and in the diagram, what they're showing that green square, that's what they're talking about. But the problem they have is the next when they're surveying above, below, or either side or either corner of that green square, there also has to be a green square that will fit exactly the same as that, has exactly the same dimensions as that green square, and has to also be a flat plane.
Yeah.
So
how
all
big
they
can
ever
the green
do,
square be?
how big can it be? Well, it's as big as the Earth is, as they survey the Earth, because the green square it depends. It comes down to what's the word I'm looking for? You know, when it can be as big or as small as you need it to be. You can start like a tangent plane.
What I mean by that, right? Yeah, let me stop you off. Yeah. What I mean by that is it's not like I've got a maximum size to it when you create this plane. It can't have a maximum size which is caused by a limitation due to curvature, can it?
No, there's no maximum size.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's my point. So that once you create that plane to do your surveying and civil engineering on, it's treated and calculated flat at that point. So all the measurements you then take are plotted onto a flat plane.
Yes. Yes. And I have another citation prior to that, if you want me to read that one out as well. But before I do, Adam, the point Adam is making is that everything they do, and this is where, if you remember the presentations from a few years ago, Nathan, that I did on this, everything they do involves having to use parallel zeniths. But then after they've done all our measurements, what they then do, now most surveyors don't do any of this. It's only crazy surveyors like Jesse Kozlowski, who are crazy globe maniacs. They will then mathematically bring all those zeniths to meet at a center point of a globe.
Reciprocal,
and that's what they do.
Reciprocal zenith angles.
Yes.
Yes, I'm well aware.
Yeah, so that's what they do. If you want me to read the other citation, I will.
Yes, please. I've got it up now.
Yeah, okay. Diagram 4, Cartesian reference system. Okay, it is important to realize that the center of a Cartesian reference system for an adopted ellipsoid may not be the true or adopted center of mass of the Earth. The latter is often used for global reference system, as used by the Global Positioning System, GPS. Furthermore, the direction of the Z-axis may differ. What they're basically saying there is that they believe they're on an ellipsoid, so they can't use the center of their globe for elevations. That's what they're saying there. Now, geometrically, their globe is a perfect sphere, but because they must claim an ellipsoid because of the rotation that they also claim, that destroys them being able to use a center point as an elevation, as any kind of an elevation reference. So that means mean sea level must be treated as a horizontal, but they're not adding that in. This has led to one of the major requirements of geodesy and surveying today, which is how to relate global to local referencing systems, so that positions in one may be expressed in terms of the other, and vice versa. What they're talking about there is going from parallel zeniths to diverging zeniths, right, mathematically. This issue is not dealt with here, except to state that it is necessary to move from the ellipsoidal system to the local Cartesian reference system before applying some translations in X, Y, Z, and possibly scale change and rotations around these axes, as well to move from the local system to global. The Cartesian reference system is particularly useful as calculations are simpler to perform, no knowledge of spherical geometry being required, which you would need if you have diverging zeniths. However, the relationship between positions on the Earth's surface are difficult to visualize in this system, and this is particularly important in navigation, for instance. The concept of height is also unclear. What they're talking about there at the end point is they're saying when we try to take reality and bend it into our globe belief, things become a bit difficult for people to understand. That's basically what they're saying. So there you go.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming Streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, gifted memberships, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a member, and all that good stuff. Obviously, another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!